कर्पूरगौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि.
The mother of a virus that plagues a large part of humanity is expectation. I have a simple theory that I try to expect less because then I feel I'll be disappointed less. And I feel to curtail your expectation is possibly the toughest thing to do because we constantly expect from relationships, from the work we do.
You're just talking to the wrong guy about this expectation. I have the highest expectation of every human being on the planet. And I know they will disappoint me. I will die disappointed, but joyfully disappointed.
Now, joyful disappointment is a place, sir, that you've reached. But that is not an easy place to reach for most of us.
See, these things are not like that. To be joyful or miserable is essentially your choice. It's a choice that you're making within yourself. Maybe it's an unconscious choice. Anything that you do unconsciously, right now unconsciously my hand can fly. But what I can do unconsciously, I can do the same thing definitely consciously also, isn't it? This is the fundamental difference between being human and every other creature. We are not doing anything different from what they're doing. We're doing the same things, but we do it little more consciously. Suddenly it's a different affair altogether. Same things, we eat, they sleep, we sleep, they reproduce, we reproduce, they die, we die. Only thing is, we are doing it little more consciously. Suddenly it looks like another world by itself. We think we are above them, only because we can do the same silly little things little more consciously. So, if I can move my hand unconsciously, I can also move it consciously. If I can become joyful unconsciously, I can also become joyful consciously. If I am joyful because of my choice, suppose disappointments are thrown at me, I will be joyfully disappointed. And my expectations of people are very, very high. I have an impossible expectation, so I know I will die joyfully, blissfully disappointed because I know the nature of the world very well. I'm not somebody who lives in fancy la-la land.
So, abundant love and no curtail on expectation.
Oh, see, love is not a quantity, it's a quality. It is not that if you do certain amount of things you're loving, there's no such thing. You can sit here, eyes closed, not look at anybody and still be loving because it's essentially pleasantness of your emotion. How pleasant? I'm asking, is there any need to curtail pleasantness within you? Now I'm super pleasant, but if a child came, I might grab him and put him on my lap. If an adult comes, you don't do that. I'll do this, okay? A dog came, I'll just do this. But an adult comes, another person comes, you don't do this to them. I'm saying your expression will change from person to person, from relationship to relationship, what kind of intimacy and what kind of closeness you have with people. But does it mean to say that you should not do this with as much love as you hug somebody or kiss somebody? Should you not? Should you not do namaskaram with as much love as you hugged your child? Why not, I'm asking? Because there is no… See this, I'm trying to demolish the word abundance because when you say abundance, there is also scarcity. There is no such thing. It is neither abundant nor scarce. If you're willing, it's on, if you're not willing, it's off, that's all.
As simple as that. Fundamentally, there is always a need for so many things, even when in your process, your professional process, or where you garner wealth or income, and you keep going. There's a need to constantly get more, than what you have. There's no satisfaction and a place to stop. Is there an end to need?
No, there should not be an end. It is just that now that you're asking this question, in some way you have realized that at every point of your life you thought, this is it, if this one thing happens, I'm fulfilled. But the very next day you realize this is not it, there's one more thing and one more thing, and you know that after 10 years still the same state will continue. So this means you're ready for yoga. This means you have understood that your longing is not for more, your longing is for all. Your longing to expand is not just for more, it is for all. Or in other words, your longing is in some way for infinite expansion. If you handle your infinite expansion unconsciously, and if it finds a very basic physical expression, we call this sexuality. What you're trying to do is, something that is not you, with physical contact, you're trying to make it a part of yourself. You know it doesn't work. If you try emotionally, we call this love. Emotionally, you're trying to include something which is not you as a part of yourself, this is your love affair. If you do it mentally, this gets labeled as greed, ambition, conquest, or simply shopping. If you do it consciously, then we call this yoga. Yoga means union. You're longing to expand infinitely, but because of little constipation in the head, you are going in installments. Can you go in installments and become infinite, I'm asking? Is it possible? Can you count 1, 2, 3, 4 and one day say infinity? No, you will only become endless counting. So your longing is not for this much or that much, your longing is for everything. If you want everything, you must understand that you cannot do that physically. It can only happen in a dimension beyond physical, because physicality exists only because of defined boundaries. But there is something within you which doesn't like this boundary, which wants to stretch the boundary, stretch the boundary, stretch the boundary. You're looking for boundlessness, but you're not courageous enough or conscious enough to admit this. You want to go in installments. No, what you're looking is for boundlessness. If you want boundlessness, it can never ever happen through physical means. So once it doesn't happen through physical means, now you use the most corrupted word called spiritual. Spiritual does not mean looking up, looking down, going here, going there. It simply means your experience of life transcended the limitations of being just physical. Because everything that's physical about you is an acquired quantity, isn't it? This is just a piece of this planet. What is up here is just a heap of impressions that you've gathered. So what you have acquired can be yours, can never be you. So this longing to have more money, more property, more pleasure, more something is not about those things. You are trying to find a dimension beyond physical nature, but because of constipation, it's not happening.
We all have theories of parenting, but I think just what I imbibe from what you had to say is that if I'm strong-willed and I exude a certain amount of pleasantness and I give out the right amount of energies, my child and my children will emulate that, imbibe that, and I don't have to constantly force-feed that knowledge on them. They will imbibe it from my energy source in any case. That is what I drew with, am I right?
No.
Okay.
See, one level, right. But it's not question of energy and don't make simple aspects of life mystical, because my entire life is dedicated to make mystical very approachable. But generally in the society, people are trying to make simple aspects of life mystical. Rearing a child is not a mystical dimension of life. It's… millions of people have done it. For thousands of generations, people have done it. We are not reinventing anything here. It's just a simple biological process. Every creature does it. A bird is teaching its offspring to, find the worm, and the worm is teaching its offspring to escape the bird. All kinds of things are happening in their own way. Similarly, human beings are doing it, but as we get more educated, we become more fussy about it. There was a time that a whole lot of parents had 8, 10 children, they did not even know their names, number one, number two, they called them. But they grew up somehow. They just provided the basic ecosystem and they just grew up. So let's not make it too whatever, because you can easily… because today is a time of just one child or two children, and we become totally, overly emotional about what is ours, and we lose perspective of what is the reality. A child will grow up anyway. If they're nourished, they will grow up. Now, what should they grow up as? Should they grow up confused? Should they grow up strong? Should they grow up stable? Should they become sage-like? Should they become something else? That's a question. What they should become in the world is a social issue. That will be decided by the times in which they grow up and the exposure that they have. Now you become a filmmaker, not because you're intrinsically a filmmaker, because you're in Mumbai, you come from that kind of family and the atmosphere around you is like that, naturally you choose that. Suppose you were somewhere else, let's say 1,000 years ago you were somewhere else, would you be thinking of filmmaking? No, you would be thinking something else. So what we do in our lives is just a circumstantial thing. Let's not read too much into it. The question is, when we have children, how complete and joyful and wonderful are they? Because every life is aspiring not to do this or that. Every life is aspiring only to become a full-fledged life, that's all. Whether it's a worm, insect or plant or tree, they're only aspiring to become a full-fledged life. There is no other aspiration in life, including ourselves. Only problem with the human being is, we know what is a full-fledged worm, we know what is a full-fledged mango tree, but we don't know what is a full-fledged human being. This is the only problem. My work is just this, to make people perceive, not understand. You must understand the difference or the distinction between perceiving, experiencing and understanding. Not understand, but perceive and experience what it means to be a full-fledged human being. And that's all that must happen to your children and every other children, every other child on the planet. What should happen? They must become full-fledged life, that's all. For this, they need an ecosystem and nourishment, not teaching from another time, because you belong to another time, you're past. You may not like it, I'm not saying as a director you're past, I'm saying in terms of time compared to your children, you're past, okay? So, one important thing that we need to do when we have children is not to help them not to get overly identified with us. This is to make an investment, heavy investment, child means, but not expect any return. This is difficult for a stock market world, how to make an investment without return. But this is what bringing up a child means. You want to make a heavy investment, no return expected. This is all. If you want to… because I've… in raising my girl, I won't go into the lengthy affair, but I made sure nobody teaches her anything, nor did I teach her anything. No 1, 2, 3, no ABC, no Mary had a little lamb, because I don't care whether Mary had a lamb or not, People said, Sadhguru, the way you're bringing up this girl, she won't know how many fingers she has. I said, I don't care whether she knows how many fingers she has, as long as she knows how to use her fingers. Why should she know this is 10? She thinks this is 100. Actually, this used to happen. When she was because I just exposed her to nature. As much as possible, I exposed, if there is nothing else, at least I took her up on the terrace and showed her the stars, which you can't do in Mumbai. You will show other kinds of stars in Mumbai. So, she would look up at the sky and say, she would call me by name, first name, and say, Jaggi, 10 stars. Because in her mind, the biggest number is 10. Somewhere she heard 10.
Yeah.
So she didn't say million, she said 10. I said, yes, 10. What is the problem? Whether are 10 stars or 10 billion stars, what is your problem? You think you're very knowledgeable because you know there are 100 billion galaxies. In what way does it matter whether there are 100 billion or there are none? What way does it matter? Because you are not seeing stars, you are only seeing the reflection in your mind, isn't it? If you spend time to know the nature of what makes you experience all this. So, she asked me once something, so I just told her just this is all you need to know about life. Never look up to anybody. She looked at me like this. I said, not even me, because the value of me will be completely lost the day you look up to me. You must look at me just as I am, then you will see immense value for who I am. If you look up to me, you will miss everything and one day you want to hang me on your wall. As you did to everybody else, to Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Shiva, everybody, you hang them on your wall, you will hang me also on your wall. You will miss the entire value, you missed all those guys. Now you will miss me also. You must look at me just the way I am. Never look up to anybody, never look down on anybody, this is all. Once you do not look up to anything or look down on anything, you will see everything just the way it is. If you see everything just the way it is, you will navigate your life, through life, effortlessly.
That's true. That is simple theory and easy enough to live by. Thank you.